Airport Zoning Commission for April 21, 2021 are called to order concurrently at 6 o'clock. Pursuant to Executive Order N-25-20 and N-29-20, members of the Planning Commission and staff are participating in this meeting via video link, Zoom, and/or teleconference. This is not an in-person meeting. Members of the public may observe this meeting on the City of Hawthorne website or on YouTube. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Richards.
Right. Everyone, please place your right hand over your heart. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Sure. Chairperson Smith,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Al Shanable,
Present.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Present.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Present.
and Commissioner Richard.
Present.
Okay. Oral communications. This is the time for oral communications. Because this meeting is not an in-person meeting, members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting were asked to participate by calling or emailing the planning department no later than 5:30 p.m. today, noting the item on which the member wants to speak. This information was provided on the agenda posted in compliance with the Brown Act on Friday, April 16, 2021. At this time, if there were any messages left for oral communication, staff will either read messages on behalf of those individuals who wish to provide written comments for oral communication, or invite members of the public who wish to provide oral comments to speak through the Zoom application. Remarks, whether written or oral, are still limited to 3 minutes in duration. So this is the time for the public to address the Planning Commission and airport zoning. Staff, is there any participation from the public for oral communications?
I'm going to defer that to our IT support. There may have been someone that signed in.
I don't know that they're oral communications or not. Anyone whose name we were given is admitted into your meeting.
Okay, but is there anyone from the public showing up that would like to speak? Because they don't always notify us. They just, if they were notified, they would just come in and wish to speak.
Unless we're given a name in advance, we don't let people in, and I have no one waiting in the waiting room.
Okay, then there's no one.
Thank you. Since there,
And I'm looking at all the participants today. I don't see anyone that would have been here for oral communication. All the folks that I see are for particular items.
okay, thank you. Since there is none, I will close oral communications. I understand staff has a request that the item under non-public hearing item 10 regarding project update and public art presentation for Millennium at South Bay be heard out of order prior to the consent calendar. Does the commission agree to this? Are there any objections?
No,
No objections.
no objections.
Objections.
If there are no objections, the non-public hearing item can be heard at this time based on unanimous consent.
Sure. Yes, Chairperson, I'd like to introduce you to Josh Boschbinder and his crew. They are the ones who are developing the Green Line project, also known as the Millennium Project. Part of that project, they are providing a public art piece. It's under the director's purview to approve this art piece, but I wanted to bring it before the commission just so that you had an idea of what was going up, and it's fairly interesting on what this public art is representing. And so I wanted each of you to see that and hear it straight from the artist. So I believe there's a presentation that Debbie can provide, and then they can go ahead and present their update and the public art piece.
The particular person is going to do their own presentation.
Oh, okay. So Josh, if you'd like to speak, go right ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate the opportunity. Great to see all the planning commissioners virtually. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I'm at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix, trying to, follow COVID protocol with my mask here. But I do have the artist and his team, Tim, available to go through this presentation. So as Greg mentioned, we're the developers finishing up on the Green Line mixed-use project, now renamed Millennium South Bay. That project will hopefully have the north building open here within the next 30 days for residents to start moving in. I'm sure most of you who have been driving up and down Crenshaw Boulevard for the last 2 years have seen the progress moving forward there. And we're very excited tonight to present the artist on this public art piece and his vision to fulfill that requirement under the specific plan. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Chris and to Tim to make the presentation.
Hi, I'm Tim McElligott. Can you guys see and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll share my screen with the presentation. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. So like I said, my name is Tim McElligott. I'm with the company called Curator Engine, and our artistic partner on this is Chris Lash, and he has a company called Aranda Lash, and one of their specialties is doing art projects around technology and science. You can check out their website as well. So I'll take you through this. The first page here is just outlining the overview of the project. So we have to make a fence, a functional fence, and make it cool. And in thinking about that, we thought about who in the community is really the constituency. Primarily, it's people driving past or walking past. So the artistic element started to become time. And we thought through ways to illustrate time through art. In thinking about the city of Hawthorne, aerospace industry, technology, a lot of the items that are produced through those industries are spaceships, airplanes, cars. So marrying the idea of time that would appeal to the community constituency the most, along with the history of Hawthorne, airplanes, cars, we decided to try and depict motion through this art, this fence. In looking at the different products that have come out of Hawthorne and the different vehicles, the Falcon 9 seemed to be a very smart option for this as one of the latest innovations that's happened here. So I'll let Chris go into the next slide and show you the concept that we came up with.
And just to interrupt, the Falcon 9, commissioners, is one of the SpaceX rockets down the street from this project.
Thanks, Tim, and great to be here with you all tonight, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to present this. While we were working through this project and coming up with ideas for it, we spoke with a friend in the aerospace industry who also lives in the neighborhood. He's a rocket scientist, and we talked to him about our ideas and what might be the most interesting aspect of this within our kind of general concept, and to both of us take into account the Falcon 9 rocket that is directly adjacent to this piece. To both of us, the thing that really stood out was the moment of liftoff in a rocket, and specifically the kind of the buildup of tremendous energy that leads to this dramatic moment of liftoff of the rocket leaving the Earth. That moment is perennially exciting to whether you're a rocket scientist or whether you're a member of the general public. That is the kind of most iconic dramatic moment that there is. And so we wanted in a way to celebrate that, to capture that. And so what you're looking at here is below a diagram of the stages of liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket. And we are mapping that onto the piece. We're abstracting that and mapping it onto the piece through the subtle rotation of the slats of the fence, one rotated slightly differently from the one that comes before it in an iterative sequence that moves progressively from one side of the piece to the next, moving from south to north towards the rocket, culminating in this moment of liftoff. So this subtle rotation of the slats means that that this piece, its transparency and opacity will change relative to one's movement around it. So this is a piece that is activated by motion.
And then in further thinking through the piece and what acceleration represents, when we were talking to this rocket scientist, he was saying that it's really, truly miraculous how much energy is built up slowly over time. And then you have this big launch and things start moving very fast. And we thought that that really also had a dual meaning of paying homage to some of the industry in Hawthorne, where it's technology or aerospace. These massive investments are made into a technology. It takes years to develop, and then they move quite quickly and they launch. So a deeper meaning on the piece. In the overall concept, we've tried to make the facade rather elegant and simple, but we thought of some other details that might be able to be integrated into the piece as we move into design development from a concept stage. And Chris will go into some of these.
So in these images, you can see clearly a couple things. One is the piece's relationship to the Falcon 9 rocket at the corner of Crenshaw and Jack Northrop. And the other thing that's clear in this image is that this is a piece that will be experienced in motion, both by the people walking back and forth to work in the neighborhood, but also to the general public that are driving up and down Crenshaw every day. And we wanted to make this piece something that would be interesting and meaningful to everyone. And in addition to the rotation of the slats, creating this kind of motion as you drive by it, we are also proposing to add a lighting component that adds an additional piece of information to the piece in the form of a lighted gradient, one that moves from through this light sequence that starts with this kind of unexpected green spark that happens at a pocket before it moves to the more expected oranges, reds, whites of the launch sequence before it finally fades into the blue of the sky as it heads off into space. And so while everyone will experience this motion and will experience this sequence as a pleasing progressive color sequence, to the actual rocket scientists in the neighborhood and living in this building, they will recognize this as a subtle nod to their work and to the things that they think about every day. So we really wanted to make it a kind of make it meaningful on multiple levels, but something that would speak to both residents, but also to everyone, no matter who you are, where you're coming from.
And that's the main thrust of the concept. Thank you again for letting us present today. We have slides of supplemental information of where exactly it'll be, daytime views, some ideas on potential night lighting, more detailed diagrams. Chris can also bring it up in a 3D rendering and move it around on his computer. So thank you again for letting us show you.
Thank you.
Oh,
That concludes the presentation, Chairperson. You can carry on with the rest of the agenda if you like.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Through the chair, can I ask a question?
I'm sorry.
Is it possible to ask a question?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned that you're proposing the lighting. Is that going to be part of the project, of the art project, or is it still to be determined?
It's ultimately still to be determined through design development and through additional feasibility, but yeah, we're hoping to include this color sequence in one way or another.
Yeah, I just to comment, I hope you do. I mean, the concept is really great, and I really see it very ingenious to develop the transition or the association with the rocket. But I think the LED would really make this shine. So hopefully that can happen. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
through the chair, I also have one last question.
Okay, now we'll have the Planning Commission and
To the
Mr.
chair,
Smith?
I have one more question. Just one question for them. Chris, I believe I heard during the presentation, they said, Chris, it was, that you may be able to show the 3D rendering.
Animation.
Yeah, is that something you'd be able to share on your screen right now, or will we maybe catch that later?
Sure. Let me see here. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, this is the model rendering the model of the building, and this is where the fence will be enclosing these this patio, and then this is live in 3D model, so it's not a rendered view, but you can see as you kind of move around the model, the way that the opacity and transparency of the fence subtly changes. So as you move around it with this kind of in this sequence that's based on using a kind of sine wave to abstract this idea of acceleration as you move from this end to the other. You can see these kind of the frequency of the rotation getting tighter and tighter as you move from here to up here. So it's made up of identical slats, identical metal slats that are each we have modeled here 4 inches long, spaced apart relative to tight enough to satisfy code requirements, but with a kind of subtle rotation moving in sequence one after the other to together give this kind of continuous overall kind of feeling of movement and progression.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to look great.
Yeah, this is really cool. Thank you.
Question for you, Greg. Is this the art component for this project that was approved? Is is this fence, was it meant to be a standalone art component? Because this seems to be acting as both a fence, which seems to be a requirement of the project. I don't know if it's a functional requirement that, you know, or the original approval included a fence, because it limits kind of transparency, it limits access from passers-by and visitors into, I'm not sure what that area is, if that's the common area where there's going to be cafe or retail.
Actually, Commissioner, that's the outdoor dining area for the restaurant component. Well, at least a portion of it is, a good portion of it is. I actually saw it as a plus that it became a functional art piece. The requirement of this was a public art piece that could be seen by passerbys at street level or walking level. It definitely meets that criteria. I found it very attractive that they tied it into the space rocket across the street. I did talk to them about putting just a small plaque of explaining what the art piece was, just for any passerbys, and they obliged to put something up there. So, you know, that'll eventually go up when they can do that. But I was actually very happy that they did make it a functional art piece and that it was viewable by passerbys, both in vehicles and pedestrians. So,
okay, thank you.
Just to tag onto
If I, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I asked the question already. I'll ask Greg. I was gonna have a question of Greg.
Okay. No, if I may, through the chair, I just have a comment. I think the concept is absolutely genius. This is so beautiful. Just looking at it, I can actually feel the vibration. And once the colors are incorporated with this, it's so dynamic, and I feel engaging that it's just going to add to the beauty of the whole street, not just the building. So kudos. That was an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You.
And then, yeah, just want to ask Greg, just so I can be clear, from where we were looking at that fence is actually right up against the sidewalk. So just walking pedestrians passing by would be coming past that fence, or would that be, is it like inside the building, or?
it's actually the way it's set up. There will be a planter box that actually sticks out, I believe, about, I don't want to say 20, not 2 feet, but maybe 18 inches out. And maybe Tim or Chris or Josh can kind of elaborate. But there is, I don't think the way that people walk by, they'll actually be diverted because there's a planter box in front of that.
Yeah, that's
right.
correct. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, there are planter beds and bike parking that, according to my model, are just under 5 feet wide. So it's set back. It's set back from the sidewalk, so that the public doesn't get right up on it and won't be looking down into the light fixture. But it is mounted, and this is shown in the details attached to the presentation. It's mounted on the outside of a cinder block wall that has seating on the other side. So it completely covers that cinder block wall and extends it up to 6 feet, as is necessitated by code. But it is pushed back a little bit from the sidewalk, and it also still allows access and functionality of the three gates that allow access into the patio from the sidewalk.
Perfect. I just want to make sure if we're on the street that when I go jogging, I can jog past that and enjoy.
Oh yeah.
That's all. To make sure as long as we're on the street, but I'll get in my book.
Yeah, it'll absolutely be visible from the pedestrian level.
Perfect.
I want to piggyback on what Ruler was saying. I feel like the lights would make it a very key component on making this an art piece, similar to how LAX have, they have the pillars. Really it's the lights that make it that art piece, because if it was just, pillars, there would just be pillars. And I feel like if there were no lights, on this project, it would just look like a fence. So I would, strongly, recommend, having those lights on there, so that way it's more appealing to the eye for the people and the pedestrians, or even have some type of you know color scheme where maybe it shows the takeoff. Maybe certain lights come on gradually to give it that feel. Yeah.
Okay.
Or even like a vinyl. I mean, if lights become too infeasible in terms of cost, maybe some sort of vinyl graphic that brings across the same concept of the spark, with the green, and then with the other colors. That's it. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
We'll move on now. Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar. There are no items. Reset the Airport Zoning Commission. Planning Commission consent calendar. There's also no items. Continued public hearings. Conditional use permit application. Now it's in place to continue the public hearing to consider design review application 2021 DR03. Mr. Bashmakian will present the staff report.
Actually, I think we had a little correction to make on this, Chair. The continued public hearing will be for DR02, and I know we provided you 03, but the item we're continuing is the one with colors, where they were supposed to provide a rendering. They originally provided a black and white rendering, and then the commission requested that they come back with a colored rendering.
Okay, so.
And I will present that report.
So this one, DR03, is not going to be discussed tonight?
It will be under new public hearings, but if there was a typo in your script, it should be DR02.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So now's the time to consider design review application 2021 DR02.
Correct. So Commission, good evening. As you recall, there was an item on a previous meeting where you reviewed a design review project for an existing 800-foot commercial building. The applicant was proposing to do an exterior facade improvement with colors and materials. It was normally used for auto sales use in the past. They're going to be repurposing it for, I believe, the retail sales of flooring and carpet type material. There was no issues with this happening. However, the commission did mention that they would like to actually see the building in a color photo or image so that you could really grasp what the building would look like using those types of materials and colors. And so tonight they have done that, and I'm going to try and share my screen and hopefully it works. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the property is a commercial property located at 12903 Englewood Avenue. You can see the project site on the corner of 129th Street there. Projects. So the current site conditions, these are all familiar to you. You already seen these, but that's what the existing building looks like. Their proposed facade is what you saw last time, which was the corrugated metal, and the coloring is of black. And that's at this point is when the commission said, hey, we'd like to see that black and white rendering as colored so we can actually see what it looks like. And so what the applicant has come back with was a facade rendering with colors. And so I think this hopefully meets your expectations and what you would like to see so they can get a better picture. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant to describe the materials and the colors and why he chose that. Is it Mr. Carding? You're on mute, or Mr. Santizo?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Well, in essence, you know, the direction of the design is to provide a building that is a little bit unusual for the area. You know, it's something new in that particular area, as you know. And I decided to use basically metal faces, metal materials, and the contrast and the configuration of the metal to create something, you know, attractive and pleasant, and really make a sort of a statement about the use of the space for the kind of business that Mr. Santiso wants to install there. So as you can see, simply is the corrugated metal that is here with the soft gray bone, the silver line, you know, this point here. And this we have this accent of the metal, which is the dark bronze metal here and there and there and on top of the building. And then basically the rest with the addition of the toilet and this wall, what we have all the mechanical equipment and electrical and so on, just plain plaster. It's in material to the whole thing. Just simple plaster, and it's not really visually exposed to the sidewalk or to the front of the building. So this is the intention is to create some visually motif from Inglewood Avenue. Now, the main entrance is not facing Inglewood Avenue, is facing the 129th Street, because essentially the parking is in this area and the people will access this way, you're going in. Eventually, there will be a sign on top of this portion here to describe the type of building that we have or we will have. And, you know, we have changed slightly in this area the slope of the roof to give more space, more dramatic entryway to this area here, you know. So that's where the whole concept came about.
So Chair, at this time, staff would continue on with its original recommendation that the Planning Commission adopt Planning Commission PC Resolution 2021-02, which would approve the design review application for this project, or 2021 DR02.
Okay. Does the Planning Commission have any questions for the staff? This is time for questions for staff.
Through the chair, just a comment to the applicants. I just want to commend them. I mean, it looks great. If I was in the market to rent a space, that would be a great space for me to rent. It looks architecturally very pleasing. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Barcelona Pavilion, something like that. So it's beautiful. So
Thank you.
I commend you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And through the chair, if I may, I'm also going to echo Commissioner Ortiz's comments. I mean, it's really clean. The lines are perfect. I would just hope that the sign, you mentioned that there was a sign that was going to be placed. I hope that it can be done tastefully so as not to take from the beauty of the design.
Absolutely.
And the difference that it made between seeing it black and white and in actual rendering is unbelievable. I mean, this is really good work. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. So staff, is there any participation by members of the public for this public hearing? Staff?
No, there is not.
Thank you.
Sorry, it wasn't working. Yeah, no comments.
Secretary, are there any documents to place into the administrative record such as late communication?
No, there are not.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any final comments on this item?
I had a question for the applicant. I just wanted to know if there's any proposed or existing AC units on top of the building that would be visible through that corrugated metal.
No. So the only thing existing right now is right here in this area. It's a for sale unit. That's all. What we intend to do, if I can see my rendering. Okay, right there in this space here, on top of the ceiling of the toilet, there is a parapet. And behind the parapet, we will install a new HVAC unit that will have ductwork going into the space exposed, okay? But they will be covered. You will not see the equipment from the outside.
Yes. No.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Okay, I now formally will close the public hearing on this item. Call on my fellow commissioners for a vote on the item. Do I have a motion to adopt PC Resolution 2021-02?
I'll move. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll move to approve. I did want to add just one condition that they maintain the foliage within the visibility triangle to public work standards, and then just providing them those heights where they need to keep the foliage maintained. But yeah, I'd recommend approval with that condition.
Is the applicant amenable to that?
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
I'll second.
Yes. I want it low. I want people to see the building. And I don't want any big trees or any foliage there that would really screen the look of the building.
Yes, exactly. Trying to keep it in shape all the time.
Yes.
As it is right now, it's not updated, but we try to keep it clean and we're not using it yet. But when it's done, that has to be like that all the time.
Yes. Great.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, can we have the vote, please? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I think there's a motion and then a second.
There was, I believe, Commissioner Alshanable provided a second.
Okay.
So roll call is Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Alshanable,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Richard.
You're muted.
Oh, he's on mute.
Ryan, you're muted.
Yeah, it says you can push space bar and it should unmute you, and it's not doing it. So, yes.
That's what happened to me. That's why you can hear me.
Like it's saying push it, and it's just not doing it. But yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to a new public hearing. Permit 2021 CU01. Now is the time and place to open and continue the public hearing on conditional use permit 2021 CU01 to May 5, 2021 at 6 p.m. Is there a motion to continue this item? Make a motion to continue.
Move to continue.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, call for the vote, please.
Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Alshanable,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Richard.
Yes.
Okay, next item is Zone Text Amendment 2021 ZA01. This item is being continued by staff, therefore no motion is necessary. Next item is Design Review Application 2021 DR01. Now is the time and place to open and continue the public hearing on Design Review Application 2021 DR01 to May 5, 2021 at 6 p.m. Is there a motion to continue this item to May 5th at 6 p.m.? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Call for the vote?
Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Alshanable,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Richard.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Design Review Application 2021 DR03. Now is the time and place to open the public hearing to consider Design Review Application 2021 DR03. Mr. Basmekian will present the staff report.
Yes, good evening, Chair Smith and Planning Commission.
Art, just a minute. Mohammed, are you there? Mr. Pormandari, or are you with Mr. Pormandari?
Yes, I'm with Mr. Pranamdari.
Um,
I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant as well, and I believe he's on the line as well. Maybe
Okay.
yeah.
We received a late email communication requesting that a Jimrias be allowed into the meeting. And so Debbie Chantos, who's administering, is aware of that. And so
Yeah.
if you'd like to contact him to have him log in,
All right,
we're ready to accept him.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Sorry, Art.
No, thank you. Yeah, this is a design review application for development of a 104-room, 5-story hotel at 11444 Acacia Avenue and 11447 and 11443 Birch Avenue. This project came before the Planning Commission at their last meeting on April 7th. The project consists of 2 applications, conditional use permit and design review. The conditional use permit was considered by the Planning Commission on April 7th. Unfortunately, we didn't have both applications together at the same time. We apologize for that, but now the commission did approve the conditional use permit, and what's before you is the design review. And in a nutshell, the difference between the 2 applications, the conditional use permit's focus is on the use. Is the use appropriate for the location? The design review is looking at the looks, the design. Is the design appropriate? And primarily the design review focus will be on like site planning and architecture. I'm going to try to see if I can share my screen. If I can't, I will have to go to plan B. Let me try this. Yeah, I can't hear my screen. I think I hear somebody in the background speaking. I think it's Mr. Mohammed, maybe.
Yes, it's me.
Okay. Yeah, if you could mute yourself for a moment. So once I'm done with the presentation. We provided you, the Planning Commission, the plans, the exhibits, and I could just kind of go over that. The plans include the site plan, shows the first floor layout, which includes the lobby area and the parking area. The parking area is on the Birch side. The lobby area is on the Acacia side. Then the floor plan, typical floor plan is sheet A2 that shows the 24 rooms on the 3 floors. Then on a rooftop, there is the lounge area, small lounge area, bar area. Then we get into the elevation drawings, and the elevation drawings show the color and the material. And there's a call out of all the different materials and a separate sheet with the details on the materials. The base will have a gray brick veneer. There's the stucco used, the siding used, and the different glazing in the windows. And again, these are all shown on the elevation drawings. Based on the project, I would probably add that the hotel design is probably the better looking design, better hotel than the other hotels in the immediate area. So with that, staff was able to make the findings that this project does meet the objectives of the design review with regards to the 4 required findings that are listed in the staff report and in the resolution. With that, our recommendation is of approval, and the applicant is here. And applicants, I'm not sure if it's the architect who may be able to expand on the concept of the design. If there's any specific questions from the Planning Commission on on the concept of the design. With that, I conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, does the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? This is the time for questions for staff only.
Yes, through the chair. Question for staff. The materials that are shown here, those, once, if approved, they can't be changed, correct?
If approved, they can't be changed. There is a process of minor modifications. If it's something very minor and it's still within the overall envelope of what the Planning Commission approves, the director could approve minor changes, but anything more substantive has to go back to the Planning Commission.
Okay, so are minor changes considered like a material, like the type of brick that they're proposing, or let's say the type, the color that they're proposing? Would that be considered a minor change or a major change?
Good question. And code does not really clarify and specify. What I would suggest is that if the commission agrees with regards to conditions of approval, at the end of the day, if you want to put a condition where if there's some changes, that the changes come back to the commission, not as a public hearing item, but as a informational item, that is one suggestion to address that situation should that arise.
Okay, thank you. No more questions on my part.
Well, thank you. Is the applicant present and do they wish to speak?
Thank you, Your Honor. Is this hotel is a prototype from Hyatt, and then we got to build it according to their spec. I have no further thing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, is there any participation by members of the public for this public hearing?
I don't think there is, unless if other staff members have received any late communications of requests, but I don't think there are.
Okay, thank you.
There was an email. Sorry, through the chair. There was an email with our package.
In the packet, yeah, there was an email in the packet.
Yes.
But nothing beyond that. Nothing present at the moment, speaker.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, are there any documents to place in the administrative record, such as late communications?
No, we haven't.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any final comments on the item?
Yes, I had a question for staff, a couple questions. I want to know if the project complies with SB 330 for replacement provision requirements with the removal of the housing.
Yes, Commissioner, that's a good question. As you know, being a planner, back in 2009, the Housing Crisis Act of 2009, Senate Bill 330 came about. One of those determinations was that if a housing development project were to replace existing residential dwelling units, that it would need to ensure that it provided at least the same or more equivalent types of units. This hotel would not fit the definition of a housing development project by the state. They define housing development projects as transitional housing or multifamily type housing or projects of that nature. And so this hotel would not be susceptible to that requirement.
Okay, thank you. Then I had another question. I was taking a look at the general plan, specifically section that deals with compatibility between existing and future development. Goal number 2, it states that every effort shall be made to ensure that both existing and future development will be and will remain compatible with the surrounding desirable uses. Policy 2.1 states that the design of future development shall consider the constraints and opportunities that are provided by adjacent and existing development. And then policy 2.2 states that the construction of very large buildings shall be discouraged where such structures are incompatible with the surrounding residential development. For those reasons, I believe that, like I stated in our last meeting, that the increase in height can be done along the Acacia side, away from the existing multifamily residential, to make it more visible from the Hawthorne Boulevard and Imperial side, providing more of a street appeal and visibility compared to those other hotels that are on that same side. I believe increasing the height along that area would be more appealing for this particular hotel, because it would make it taller than the ones that are in front of it or on the side of it, but only in the area located, you know, on our Acacia, and then maybe terrace it down as you go back towards Birch, to where it's more in line with the buildings on that end, which are about 3 stories tall. I believe they can, you know, obtain this with providing, you know, the garage level on that side, and then maybe 2 other floors above that, and then maybe the pool level above that. I noticed that there's probably like a pool or outdoor eating area on top that they have. So maybe providing that element, you know, towards the back, that would be a great design feature to make it more compatible and meet that general plan goals and policies.
I'm not sure, was that just a comment about your position with regards to the project? I don't know if there was a question there or not, but just want to make sure. I want to follow up.
Or I guess, I mean, how does this current design, you know, meet that particular general plan goal and policy?
Yeah, on top of that, then there's the specific plan, which governs this particular area. And the specific plan is actually encourages hotel development. And I think there is no specific, the height criteria. So there's a recognition that this area, as we said at the last meeting, of transitioning. Correct, there are areas of the city that talks about compatibility, and oftentimes that deals with an area where you're abutting a residential zone or some other zone, then you have a compatibility. But this particular project is in the middle of the hospitality district, and so staff did not see that there is it's a finding that we can make to lower the height on the Birch side to something comparable to the homes on that side, which actually are single story, a couple of them. So that's staff's position at the end of the day. Yeah, so.
Yeah, to look at the specific plan for that area, it didn't give much detail on like development standards or design criteria. So that's why I looked at the general plan, which is, you know, the general plan for the entire city that includes, you know, the specific plan areas. And, you know, specifically this, you know, dealing with the compatibility, and then just the compatibility between existing and future development. And we definitely not saying that they can't have that hotel there, just to make it, you know, more compatible with the existing and surrounding area.
So through the chair, if I may just comment on that, Commissioner Carvel, the way that I saw that, this idea of compatibility with the existing neighborhood, because this whole area is zoned for hotel use, and the area and this lot in particular, it's in the middle of that zone. If, let's say we were to say, okay, you could only build 3 stories in the back meaning, is it
birch side, the birch side.
Yeah, the garage is the birch, right? Yeah, the birch side. So then, because we have existing homes, at least on one side, well, actually right now, I think on both sides, right? We have existing homes on both sides. Okay, now the next developer that wants to develop a hotel next to this one purchases those, right? Because we, as a city, it's being promoted as a hotel zone. So then they purchase that lot. Now their neighbor, which is a hotel, has only 2 stories or 3 stories, whatever we said we allow them to have. Then does that mean that then this new hotel would also just be limited to 3 stories because the adjacent hotel now no longer a residential is 3 stories? So that's the way that I'm looking at it. That to me, these adjacencies, these current residential adjacencies, they're just temporary because the city is trying to promote this area as a hotel zone. So that's how I reasoned it, and why to me it doesn't. I don't see a merit for limiting the heights. That's just my opinion, and I wanted to share that with you guys.
And
go ahead, sorry.
If I could add also in the general plan under the regional commercial, it does mention about adopting a specific plan for that area, which ultimately the city did. And the specific plan is actually now the general plan for that area that governs Hawthorne Boulevard along and all the way up to Imperial. And that really is more specific to this issue. And so those standards in the specific plan, and there aren't that much, is what governs that. So that issue has been discussed in essence by the adoption of the specific plan, which calls for the encouraging and facilitating the development of hotels in that entire block. So there is recognition that there will be a time period where a hotel may be standing out compared to a single story house next door, but in time that area is going to be developed. So that's staff's understanding based on our reading of the specific plan. So.
I would also reiterate that in staff's discussion, when you go through a transition period, there's going to be items or issues like this. And that general plan, which was done, years before the specific plan, was protecting those types of residential neighborhoods that were designated ours. And this area is designated commercial with a specific plan to turn it into a hotel hospitality type area. And so, with that transition, there is going to be these types of issues that come up. And but I think the intent that staff looked at was this was the goal of the city to one day be a hotel area, and it's happening. And I think that's just part of when you transition, right? Change of zones into a different area or different use, you're going to have that happen.
Yeah, through the chair, I think if we were talking about an adjacent residential use, or maybe it was some other community element that had like some sort of historic value or like a unique value to the community, I could see how we would, really want to protect the vistas and the views and limit even though, it is zoned differently, still limit the development around it. but I just don't see that here. And I'm open to considering maybe any arguments or why you feel strongly about this, Commissioner Carvel, but I don't see it at this time. I don't know how the rest of commissioners feel also.
If I may, through the chair, I'm leaning more towards Commissioner Ortiz. And this area in the general plan for the downtown Hawthorne specific plan is designated hospitality. So, so if we put too many restrictions where it doesn't become feasible, so what else are we going to put in there? And normally when I look at any project, and just as I did at this, I always use my independent judgment to make sure that my decision or my vote is only based on what's better for Hawthorne. And in this specific case, I agree with Commissioner Ortiz.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other final comments from them?
Yeah, I guess on my point of view, because I know last time we were talking, and we were saying that not many people are coming to talk about this project, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people aren't going to be concerned once they start building. A lot of the people in that area, those are like multifamily, so the residents or the owners, don't live on site, and so some people might get the mail and for the notice and just throw it away or think it's junk mail. So we have to think, outside of the box, and as commissioners, for the city, for not just the owners, but also the renters of that area. And not saying that they can't have a hotel there, just saying that it could be built to where it's more compatible with the area. In the staff report, it said that this hotel is going to be the tallest, within that area. So to place this, taller building next to, these smaller single-story houses and three-story buildings, kind of makes it, not compatible. Even though that the land use states that it's, not residential, but what's there, is, residential. And then just, looking at because the specific plan really doesn't talk much about design or heights and things like that for this area. That's why I referenced the actual general plan, and it states about the height for buildings and compatibility with those concerns. And I believe that the architect it would be good in being able to create something that would be more compatible. And like I stated before, by increasing the height along Acacia would provide for those extra rooms, and it'll also provide visibility for that hotel from Hawthorne and Imperial. And then if they terrace it down going back towards Birch, it's still providing for extra rooms. And then I noticed that they had a rooftop feature along that Acacia side. If they were to just increase the height over there and then put that rooftop feature towards the back, that would provide some more room, some more space, and more height for their development. And it'll also make it more visible and attract more clients for them.
Okay, is there any more final comments?
Through the chair, last thing on this one. I think this project is really illuminating something that I think we need to look at, is kind of drilling down what we're doing in our specific plan. Because as Commissioner Carabeo was saying, when we're referencing the general plan and looking at what the city has decided we were moving towards, when we enacted a specific plan about this area, we don't have requirements, like you said, for height or for how these buildings are to be designed. And I understand the idea was to leave it a bit open-ended so developers could do what it was they were looking to do, but it does then bring up this specific issue, whereas it's kind of the growing pains of developing a new area, where this business is going to set the precedent for what the next things can do there. So while we will still be greatly impacting those residents, people who live in houses now, even though the idea is to get to hotels, in that in-between time, we do have to care about how those residents who are still living there, how they will be impacted by it. So right now, generally when I make decisions, I like to go based off what is written, what the code is, what we decided. So unfortunately, because of what the specific plan says, because it's so general, we have something that's pretty concrete in the general plan, rather than say, hey, there's nothing written in specific, let's just go let them do whatever. It makes sense to go, well, we wrote something, we had an idea, we wrote it down in the general plan. If we were looking for something different, we wanted to allow this heights, it would make sense for us to kind of codify that, write that, standardize it in the specific plan. That's what we're looking to do. And really, I just feel like this project, unfortunately, because it is the first one there, it gets the brunt of it, because we have to scrutinize extra hard, because it's the first thing that's going there, and it will set the trend for what's going on in the future. I just wanted to make that comment. I don't know if there's another question or anything else that's added there.
If I may, I don't think it's the first one. I think this is the third. Am I mistaken?
What I mean by the first, I mean like because it is at that height.
The height, okay.
Because if we have one that's this tall, that means we're setting the ability for us to continue to keep being like that. Like that becomes the new normal for what a hotel looks like in that space. We continue to go along in that pathway.
Okay.
Okay, I now formally close the public hearing on this item. Call on my fellow commissioners for a vote on the item. So, does anyone want to make a motion? If not, I'll make a motion to see resolution 2021-04, approving the CEQA determination and design review application 2021 DR03. Call for the vote. Oh, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, call for the vote, please.
Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Al-Shanable,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo,
No.
Commissioner Richard.
Abstain.
Motion passes 3-1 with Commissioner Richard abstaining.
Okay, thank you. We'll now recess the Planning Commission, call back to order the Airport Zoning Commission. Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar, there are no items. Airport Zoning Commission new or continued public hearings, there are no items. Call back to order the Planning Commission concurrently with the Airport Zoning Commission. And there are no non-public hearing items other than the one we had earlier. Administrative items. Secretary, do we have any administrative items?
There are no items.
Items to be placed on future agendas. Pre-agenda for the meeting on May 5th, 2021. Conditional use permit 2021 CU01 on sale of alcohol beverages at 12520 Crenshaw Boulevard, which is a continued item. And design review application 2021 DR01, facade improvements for new Starbucks at 4235 El Segundo Boulevard, which was a continued item. Okay, we'll move on to commissioner reports.
Through the chair, if I may, real quick, just to give you a kind of a brief overview, the alcoholic beverage CUP that you'll be seeing is for the potential or for the future restaurant of the Millennium Project, which is the art project that you just kind of saw, and that's where that wall will be. It'll serve that outdoor dining area. So it's kind of neat. And then also the facade improvement for the Starbucks. If you go down El Segundo Boulevard and you wanted to take a look, that's where the old Tacos Mexico is.
Thank you. Commissioners, you have any reports? How about Commissioner Caraveo?
Okay, we can start with him.
Okay, I want to say happy Administrative Professionals Day to everyone.
anything to report to us on?
Yeah, yeah. Let me see.
Oh, I get to see him.
That's cool.
Oh,
So he was born not long after our meeting. He was born April 9th.
That's my
Oh,
sister's
wow.
birthday.
Yeah. He's
It's a
still
ti-
asleep now. Yeah.
It's a
Oh my
tiny little
God.
report.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
He's so
Congratulations.
precious.
So
congratulations,
cute.
Miss
Oh,
Jimrias. Wow.
congratulations.
And his
Perfect
name
little
is
baby.
Kal-El
Little
Lawrence Carville. Yeah.
Nice.
I would
Nice.
thought
He's
you
gonna
would
be a
have him in a,
superhero.
yeah, I thought you'd
Yeah.
have him in a Superman
Yes.
onesie.
Yeah, he can't fit them yet.
Aw. Make sure you don't get him
Okay.
close to kryptonite.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're gonna have such a great time, Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations to both of you.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
Thank you.
And
I
To me,
remember.
yeah.
So
To me,
cute.
just
They're so cute when they're little like that. I love it.
they're adorable. To me, I just want to say, I think that yesterday was a historic day for our country. Justice was finally served, and the validation and the relief that the family must have had after the conviction was very well deserved. And I say the same thing that everybody said. This is just the beginning of teaching our kids that no one is above the law. And yesterday was a very emotional and very beautiful moment. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, something more mundane. I don't know if this is something that we could put on that we have to put on the agenda to discuss, but lately, at least the last month, I've been hearing a lot of noise from the planes flight path over the area where I live. And from what I understood, they're not supposed to pass. They're supposed to have a very specific path for the local airport. And so I've been hearing them like early in the morning, 7:30, 8 in the morning, pretty loud. So is to discuss further or give us some information on who we contact, because there used to be some sort of liaison between the community and the airport for noise complaints.
Yeah, there's a committee, and I'm on it representing the Planning Commission.
Oh, okay.
Just had a meeting the other night. I will get you the information on who you need to speak to let them know about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Before we sign off, Melissa or Greg, I'm not sure, or maybe Art, the plaza that is on 118th and Hawthorne Boulevard, for a while it stayed clean, the one that has the 99-cent store in El Torito and Ralph's. And now, I mean, the last time that I had to pass by there, it was really bad. So I know that code enforcement every now and then goes and then they listen and everything is fine, but I didn't even feel I was in the United States. It was that bad. So I don't know if someone can take care of that or send code enforcement. I don't know, I mean, who's responsible for cleaning it?
Yes, I will have the code officers address that tomorrow. Thank you for letting us know. We have been making routine checks, but it seems like you let off one day and then it just turns to a disaster. So I'll definitely let the code enforcement officers know.
Thank you.
One.
I also want to give you guys kudos. I know you guys mentioned before about that vacant store on Imperial in Inglewood, and I see that they put up boards up there, and it wasn't like just plain board. They painted it, I believe, black. It made it, a little more appealing compared to just regular wood boards. So I want to give you guys kudos on that.
Yes, I'll relay your message to the code enforcement officers. They jumped on it right away when I requested, so.
Okay, if there's nothing further from the commissioners, then the meeting will be adjourned at 7:16 p.m. I want to say thank you, everybody, all the commissioners.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.